Jimbo.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino.
Better late
Taco Tuesday
than never. Sorry for being a couple minutes late on you. It is Taco Tuesday. What's going on, Kings fans? I know we're a little bit down. We're a little bit confused. We're looking for answers. We're only 11 games into the season. What's Mike Brown gonna do? It's all good. We're 11 games into the season. They're gonna get it figured out, all right? It's Taco Tuesday, though. You gonna do any tacos today? Tell you what, we've got 90 minutes planned for you on the King's Court this afternoon, and boy, oh boy, do we have a lot of content. We've got plenty of Kings we'll talk about last night. We are going to also be playing Jerry Jones Roulette. Yes, Jerry Jones Roulette. He had his weekly appearance on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, and it did not disappoint. Got about 7 different drops from the appearance that really could take up all 90 minutes of this show, but we're not going to do all 90, so we'll be mixing in some Jerry Jones for your comedic pleasures. And yeah, we even got a nice visual of Jerry. He looks really happy today on this Tuesday. Look, he's so excited for Taco Tuesday. He's like, oh, man, I can't wait. Am I going to get carne asada? Am I going to get chicken? Be exotic? Get tripe? What do you think, Jer?
Taco Tuesday.
You know, I got to give it to the man because he is one of the better success stories in the history of professional sports. But this guy just can't get out of his own way. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. If you're a Cowboys fan, it is not a good thing. Last night, it was not a good thing for the Kings in San Antonio, but not unexpected last night either. Man, Mike Brown, what a position Coach Brown is in. Damn good he's not a lame duck coach this year working off of a guaranteed year and then an option with the option he has at hand on the bench. It's tough. I'm going to show you the graphic in a little bit. We talked about it at the beginning of the pregame show. You have 4 of your 5 starters in the top 12 in the NBA in minutes. 11 games into the season. They looked tired last night. You had air balls from the beginning of the game. Keegan had 2 air balls. Forget, somebody else had an air ball. I forget. I think it was Foxy. Foxy had an air ball. And the second half, I mean, I can't fault these guys. They didn't quit, but Mike Brown should have pulled them out earlier. And so we've got audio from after the game. We'll talk about that as well. We've got plenty of football if you want to go there as well. And we have Q&A. By the way, I'm going to open it up to all of you because believe it or not, because we give out our email addresses, you guys got our X accounts. I get a ton of questions on X, whether it's through DMs, on emails. So I might answer a few of those today as the show goes on. If you have any questions, Kings, sports related, otherwise, as long as we stay out of politics, and there's a dab, just a little dab of politics today, but it's not, there's a political reference. The story, I got to go with it because how do you not? It's just another example of the NFL being hypocrites. But let's try to keep it on the rails. But if you have any questions, today's the day. I'm going to open it up to all you. You can call the show as always. The QR code on the screen right there. Also, the link is in the chat if you would like to call. We're brought to you today by, I got to get Jerry off the screen, man. I almost rather look at Dwayne Wade than Jerry at this point. He is not happy. He's not going to be happy with me as we continue playing Jerry Jones roulette today throughout the King's Court. Go until 2:30 with you. The graphic that you saw at the beginning of the show, it's, man. Nope, we don't want the music. We don't want the music. Who's on the bench? I mean, Trey Lyles, what's happened there? Coach Brown. In Coach Brown, I get that there was some stupid questions last night in the post-game press conference. Really stupid questions. But there were also some questionable answers. You're going to tell me, we'll get to it in a second, but Jason Anderson, and Jason did not ask any stupid questions. Jason actually did a really good job last night after the game. He was the only Sacktown representation in that press game post conference. But some of the San Antonio reporters, man, you got 2 games in December against San Antonio. How do you game plan for them? And that's after 3 minutes of Coach Brown explaining why the Kings lost, what they should have done different, why they were challenging Wemby. And this guy just keeps hammering the question. It was bad. It was almost like tennis reporter asking Roger Federer about his win when he actually lost. Anyways, Bennett's is sponsoring today's show, the West Side Grill, the 3rd location here in the greater Sacramento area, located in Rockland, the Blue Oaks Town Center. Do me a favor, get to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Check out their prime cuts of seafood and steak on the menu. Also, you'll see they've got a vast array of sandwiches, salads, soups, incredible stuff. You will find Jerry and I there all the time. If Grant wasn't in South Florida, in fact, when Grant's here in town, he eats there like twice a day. You might as well call it his kitchen. Bennett's Napes' Bennett's Kitchen. That's what you should call it. But it is that good. So do me a favor, get to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Check out their offerings, locations. You can put your orders in to go now. They're in their specials. We'll talk more about those later in the show. But boy, those specials are really, really good. Again, want to hear from all of you. Let's run down the chat really quick before we get rolling with the Kings. Man, last night was predictable. I said it on the pregame show. It's going to be a tough night. It was a big ask coming off of what happened in Phoenix the night before. But Wembanyama, man, watching him play is so awkward. It's awkward. And he gets the benefit of so many calls because he has no strength in his core and his legs. Domas barely touched him a couple of times last night, and he went flying. And then, like, him pulling up for threes, it's so weird. Like, any of you that have kids out there, or maybe you have a basketball hoop that's adjustable at home, you know, when you put the hoop down and it's like you're shooting a straight line shot, that's what he does. It's like he's looking down into the rim. It's so weird to watch. Bane, obviously, no sound, no picture. Yes, we had started a little late. I got a call that I couldn't take on the air. I got a call that I could not take on the air, and it was a call I had to take. It was Kings related, etc. So that's the reason we had the late start. Hey, Kings counters, Kings counters. Damn, Bane. Are you going voice to text like Dennis now? How we do? We're doing good, brother. Thank you for being here. No, Jerry, he's going to be here tomorrow, or he'll be here tomorrow, 4:00. Grant and I, during the season, hang out with Jerry 4:00 on Wednesdays. Tacos are delicious. Not going to lie. They're not in the plans, though, today. I'm sure LeBron's having his Taco Tuesday. We are not going to be. Who doesn't like tacos? I don't know. There's a lot of people that don't like tacos. It was a back-to-back with the travel. You have 4 guys in the league with the most minutes played as starters. It's insane. It's literally insane, y'all. Check this out. I wasn't going to start here, but we might as well go here. Look at the minutes. Look at the minutes. The QR code's blocking that right there. The important thing is that is a list of the 12 players who are playing the most minutes in the NBA as of yesterday. Check that out. 4 of your 5 starters in the top 12. You know what else sticks out about that list? Almost everybody on that list is a star or has won a championship. Cade Cunningham, Jalen Johnson, not so much. But look at everybody else. And then you've got Keegan Murray. Nothing against Keegan Murray, but I can't reinforce this enough. I've said it so many times. I've even got Napes on the board with this. Do you know how hard it is for this guy to catch a flow in this basketball game right now with the Kings, the way they're playing? It's like a surfer trying to catch a wave at the river. Good luck. It does not happen. Oh, I've got a good story about that, surfboards and rivers. Anyways, that's for Q&A time. You can ask that question. But yes, that is brutal. And what's Mike Brown supposed to do? Honestly, what is he supposed to do? His hands are tied. What if somebody gets hurt? What if somebody gets in foul trouble? We've seen these guys in foul trouble. Hell, Sabonis has fouled out of 3 games already. Here's Coach's take on last night's game.
Yeah, no, we're definitely, gonna have to collectively step up. There's not one guy that can do it, but it's gonna be tough. Also, if Kevin and Keegan have a combined 7 points, and so it was a collective effort, not just from the guys coming off the bench, but we need production from everybody, and that doesn't necessarily mean we need somebody to get 25 or anything like that. We just need guys to step up, whether you're starting or you're coming off the bench, and just play the right way. And I thought, like I said, offensively, we didn't do a good job of it. We tried to challenge Wemby a little too much. Instead of making the game easy on us, we made it harder on us.
What do you do?
Completely agree with the back end of that. They did try to challenge Wemby a little too much inside. I get why you're doing it. I mean, you're asking Domantas Sabonis. It's like putting a big steak in front of a dog and telling the dog to sit and stay as you walk away. Of course, Domas is going to want to try to go after Wemby, get him in foul trouble, show him up, whatever it may be. But then the alternative, spraying the ball out and shooting threes, we all know how the threes have been going this season for this team. In that list that I just had up, you got to think there is a correlation between minutes played with your starting unit for the most part and the 3-point percentage. Let's take the bench out of the equation right now. That is a lot of minutes per night for these guys. A lot of minutes. And again, coach, there's nothing he can do. Now, he should have pulled him out earlier last night. No doubt about that in my mind. But what's he to do? He does not really have a bench. He does not have a playoff bench. Let's be real about it. And especially without Malik Monk, it's a problem. Who can step up? I mean, where are you looking? What is coach supposed to do? You don't have the same players in the hopper down in Stockton. You don't. You might have a player or two that could maybe come up and play a little bit. Maybe. But Orlando Robinson, we're supposed to wait on him to be the next coming? Coach is supposed to wait on that? Orlando was expected to be at best an end of the bench guy. And now I think the fan base is hanging by a thread like, oh, dude, this guy, he better be Jordan. He better be Hakeem coming off that bench for this team to have a chance to be competitive, because there's other teams in the NBA. In fact, almost the entire NBA is injured right now. The Kings are lucky to only have Malik out compared to what many of the other teams have out at the moment. And they're still getting it done. Denver's finding a way. Oklahoma City's finding a way. Golden State found a way without Curry. It's crazy what's going on. So Coach Brown, definitely in a difficult spot with the bench. Now, the answer that didn't make a lot of sense to me was when it came to thinking about Malik Monk. Coach said that he didn't think about Malik Monk last night until Jason Anderson asked the question about how much you miss Malik. Here's what Coach Brown had to say.
Really, Jay, I mean, I hope he gets better sooner than later, but like, didn't even cross my mind. I wasn't even thinking about Malik until you just said it. So, it's the next man up. Whoever's available to play, we just got to make sure we try to contribute the best way we can. And when he gets healthy, he'll be back.
Coach,
Come on, Coach. Coach, I know you got to say that, Coach. Coach, your entire bench game was planned around not having Malik Monk. Now, maybe in the heat of the moment, you weren't thinking about it because he's not available, but how could you not think about that? In fact, Keon Ellis, and I'm going to get on the guys a little bit here. I am. They sent Keon as the player representative last night to speak to the media. I didn't think that was fair to Keon. That happened last year, too. Now, granted, they came off of a big win in Phoenix, but I think after a game like last night, don't you want to hear from somebody other than Keon, who played 23 minutes, who had 3 points, who only shot 6 shots? I don't know about that, but Keon said it best when asked about what the Kings are missing without Malik Monk. He nailed it.
One, his energy for sure. Also his creativity. He has the ability to make the defense, try to trap him if he's off on using the ball screen. But he's also able to make plays as well, so that puts a lot of pressure on the defense. So we're missing that a little bit from him for sure. But kind of like I just said, though, guys got to step up.
you've shown flashes, over the past year or so, being able to do a bunch of different things. How much can you step up and help fill that void right now?
I feel like when I go out there, I just try to make the right play. So, if I'm ever in that spot, I think I'm pretty comfortable with doing what needs to be done. So, I would definitely say I feel like I'm able to do that.
Kings got to do better. Look, I like the leadership in that locker room. I do. That's not fair to Keon. It's not. Come on. You can't do that. I know Kevin Huerter talked after the Phoenix game. I know they have a rotation. Usually it is a set rotation. I know there's a leadership council. I get all that. You got to have a leader step up and talk in that situation last night. You just do. And the fact that Keon was sent up only allows people like me and fans and other talking heads to speculate. Well, is there any frustration? Are they upset? We certainly see that these guys are playing their asses off. They're doing everything that they are being asked of from Coach Brown. They are. They're playing the minutes that Coach is asking them to play. De'Aaron 36 last night. Keegan only 29. Interesting there. DeRozan 38. Domas 36. But it just adds to, it gives tinder to concerns to the fan base, to the talking heads. It's just, Keon, that's not cool. You got to send somebody else up. And Keon stepped up. He did what he needed to do. But tell me how you feel about that. I just think that was a little bit odd. And I don't want to speculate. It was probably Keon's turn in the rotation. Let's leave it at that. But you could understand where speculation could start to creep in, especially when you come off of a year where Foxy went how long without speaking to the media at one stretch? 16 days. So take it for what it is. Like I said, and John put it in the chat as well, we knew last night was going to be tough. We did. But when you see the numbers right in front of your face, and you see a team like San Antonio, who is in the bottom third in the league in shooting threes, and they come out and shoot what from beyond the arc? 47.6%. That's just all legs. That's tired. The Kings weren't in bad positions. They weren't out of position. They did what they could. you're just seeing guys that are burnt out, in my opinion, for way too early in the season. And the numbers, which we already saw, bear that out. And now you've got a massive task ahead of you. You got Phoenix at home, or you've got Minnesota, you got Phoenix, you've got Minnesota. We can go on with the schedule. We talked about it on the post-game show last night. Raw Bishop, what's up? Nothing we can do about it, Rhino. Our bench is trash, especially without Monk. They're not trash. They're not trash. I'm not going to say that, but what I am going to say is you don't have Malik Monk is the only guy, and don't tell me that you could count on 15 to 20 points or at least a consistent double-digit night from Trey Lyles coming into the season, because you couldn't. Last season, he was injured a ton. He would do it in spurts. You'd get maybe 21 from him, and then you'd get 3 the next night. Same kind of rotation that we've seen many times with some of the starters that aren't as much a part of the offense as your other 3. Now, the balance at the top of your offense with your starters is great. You've got 3 averaging in the 20s, which is awesome. Only team in the NBA to be doing that. But the bench, it's Malik Monk and nothing else when it comes to production in scoring, in playmaking. You have no other playmakers on your bench besides Malik Monk. You have all finishers, no playmakers. That's a problem. Keon possibly could be a playmaker, but he's still so young in his basketball journey. So they're not trash. They're just unbalanced. It's unbalanced, just like last year with the team overall. You only had a couple guys that could create, and the rest were finishers. So when you go heavy into that bench lineup, like you do now without Malik Monk, you're looking around and you've got to find these guys open shots. You've got to set them up for open shots, which means more minutes for the other guys, and the rest is history. So Malik Monk is going to be out at least. Here's the important thing. Everybody's saying 2 weeks. It's at least 2 weeks, at least, because he's going to be reevaluated in 2 weeks. So how do you bridge that gap? We had the conversation. If you want to have the bigger conversation about the bench not being addressed in the last couple years, trades, all that, then go watch the post-game show last night. At your leisure. You can find it right here on If You Don't Like That. Make sure that you are subscribed. By the way, I see that 124 across all the different channels have checked in at some point. Please give us a thumbs up, a retweet, a like, any of that. It definitely helps the algorithm. Make sure you're subscribed there. But we talked about it last night with the draft pick of Devin Carter. We really kind of went through the scenarios, and then we even went as far to talk about Fox. Look, this is his last year, basically his last meaningful year under contract for the Kings. This is the decision year, and I guess meaningful is not the right word, but this is the most important year of his contract out of the 2, because this is the year the decision's ultimately going to be made. Is Fox going to be in Sacramento long term? Are you going to trade him? What's that going to look like? He certainly looks like he is nowhere near All-NBA at this point in the season. Could it change? Absolutely. Only 11 games into the season, but it's not looking that way. And if you just look at the balance with the starting lineup, with the top 3, Sabonis, Fox, and Domas, I don't see one of those 3 guys being a 30, 35 scorer a night and the other 2 taking a bigger back seat. It's going to stay the way it is, balanced out like this. And Fox still dealing with the finger injury. So you got to take that into account as well. Happy all of you are here on a Tuesday. I hate to inform you that we don't have Jerry during the season on Tuesdays, but he will be here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Grant and I will be back. Grant's going to be back tonight at 8 o'clock. Make sure you join him for his open forum show. He'll be talking football. He will be talking Kings. He'll be talking everything going on. Whatever you want to talk about, he will be there for it. So join him again at 8 o'clock tonight. All right, let's get to our first Jerry Jones clip of the day. We're doing Jerry Jones roulette. As you know, he is no shortage of content from Jerry Jones. No shortage whatsoever. He goes on 105.5 or 105.3 The Fan weekly in Dallas. We have done this before, and I have been fairly critical of Jerry, and deservedly so. But this week, he just produced another gem of an appearance. Here is Jerry Jones on quote unquote taking it.
You've got me really good and softened up, so let me have it. Listen, let me just respond, because I got to hear every bit of it as though it were a question. But the thing I want to be sure that everybody understands, there's two kinds of toughness. There's a toughness that you just take people kicking you or hitting you or doing whatever is offensive to you, and just sit there and take it. And somebody says that's tough. Well, yes and no. Tough is also giving it out and coming back and hard, and that can be tough too. And a lot of times the guys that are tougher giving it out don't take it as well. They're not good takers yet. And so that definition of stand up or tough has a lot of things going for us. I want everybody to hear me say this. It is no joy in Mudville to sit around and take take it because we're not doing well.
We're going to let that breathe for a second. A lot of hammering the point home about taking it. Jerry, do I have to ask what Mudville is? Mudville and taking it and being good takers, Jerry. Jerry Jones, everybody. That is our first clip from Jerry Jones today, and it only gets better after that. In fact, you see all of these things from Jerry that tell you what is wrong with the Cowboys, like exactly what is wrong with the Cowboys. There's a clip where they're talking about Micah Parsons' much talked about quote, where it seems like he's going after Coach McCarthy, right? Jerry basically says, no, this is what Micah thinks. And I've got the audio here in a little bit, but it's like, dude, what is wrong with this guy? This is what he thinks? You tell your players what to think? It just tells you, gives you that inside look into how he runs this franchise. It's crazy. In fact, let's roll another one. I've put these in no particular order. So here is your second Jerry Jones clip of the day. Let's see what gem he has here. It's only 9 seconds long.
See, I think I'll answer your question this way. We're not living in the past with Zeke. We're doing present day with Zeke all the way.
We're not living in the past with Zeke. You're not living in the past with Zeke, but you're definitely living in the past with your franchise, dude. Jerry, can you imagine how he polishes up those Super Bowl trophies from the 90s? Just ever so carefully every single day, knowing he is not going to see another one. You don't improve your team in the offseason. Now your quarterback is out for the season, and we've got audio on that as well. But we're not living in the past with Zeke. Come on, my man, Jerry. So we've got more Jerry Jones, and I'm going to get to this really quick. Let's just get this out of the way. Let's get it out of the way really quick. This is not a political take. It has nothing to do with the political figure. It has everything to do with the situation. The NFL decided to wait to find Bosa for wearing a political hat during a post-game interview. Now, this cuts both ways. It cuts both ways because Bosa refused to answer questions from the media about it a couple of days later, which is bullshit. If you're going to wear the hat, answer the damn questions. You can't put stuff out there and then act offended when the press does their jobs. That's a chicken shit play in my book. But the NFL waited to fine him until after the election. Now, the NFL, the same NFL that has gone completely woke, you are fining players for wearing anything on camera or in game that has a political reference. What about the mandatory stuff that they make NFL players wear? Do you remember that whole controversy about kneeling for the national anthem, NFL? And you're going to fine a player for wearing a political hat, and you're going to wait until after the presidential election. No politics here. No politics here, NFL. Nope. We didn't want to affect the election. Get the hell out of here with that. And this is not an election take. I have no opinion on who won. You don't know who I voted for. Hell, you don't even know if I voted. This is just the NFL's stupid process again. I don't care that Bosa wore the hat. Great. The only thing that I care about is that Bosa didn't answer questions when he wore the hat. So yes, the NFL has retroactively fined Bosa for wearing the hat in the post-game interview after the Dallas game, 3 weeks later? In fact, from the New York Post. This is directly from the New York Post. I can't wait until Phil Mushnick gets his hands on this one. He is going to give the NFL hell over this, I can promise you. But the NFL purposely waited, this is from directly the New York Post, until after the presidential election to punish 49ers star pass rusher Nick Bosa for wearing a MAGA hat while crashing his teammates' post-game interview on NBC after an October 27th win over the Cowboys. The league opted to, quote, punt, end quote, on fining Bosa $11,255 for what was a violation of rules to avoid the perception that it would be making an anti-Donald Trump statement before the November 5th election. The Wall Street Journal reported Tuesday. We know how the election came out. Wow, the NFL thinks they could swing an election by fining a player. I mean, the NFL has reach. Doesn't have that much reach. But if you're going to fine a player for that, what's the player's recourse when you make them participate in different months that are sponsored for different things, and most of them very good things? The military, and that's a whole nother thing that I'm not going to get into, but most of them a good thing. The military, Crucial Catch, My Cleats, My Cause. I don't have a problem with that stuff. But they used to have a lot of different branding on the fields. They used to have a lot of different stickers on the backs of the helmets. Players had to wear them, right? But a player can't express themselves without a fine? What are we doing? Where's the NFLPA? Incredible by the NFL. Don't you think it's better just to walk it off and let it go? Is $11,255 from Nick Bosa worth the bad press that you are now going to get? Incredible to me. So yes, we're not opening the door to politics, but I couldn't believe it when I saw that today. Could not believe it. We're still talking Kings. We're talking NBA. By the way, for those that don't know, I cover the Stockton Kings pretty closely. They lost last night in their opener against the Valley Suns down in Arizona. Close game. They fought. There were a couple of really good plays in that game by some of your Kings. Isaiah Crawford gives you 16 last night, 21 from Scal. He had a big night. 15 from Drew Timmer. And Boogie Ellis actually had a couple of good plays. Did not score a ton, though, but some nice plays in that game. What I'm looking for in these Stockton Kings games, certainly you want the team to be successful. You want them to win and be competitive. But I'm also looking individually at what the guys are able to do. What kind of plays are they making? What looks are they getting that are very similar to that they would get in the NBA? And I'm not talking about here's the ball, go score 30. I'm talking about the role some of these guys, if they ever did come up and get minutes, the roles they would play on the main team here in Sacramento, how the team reacts or how the players react in those situations. If they were put into the game in Sacramento, how are they doing in those same situations in the G League? So Stockton loses their first one. They are back at home tomorrow, home opener. Go check them out in Stockton. I've already done my PSAs for Stockton. I am a big advocate of what they are doing down there, and I am a big advocate for all of you to get to Stockton. If you cannot afford a good seat in Sacramento, and I mean that with no disrespect, the prices are astronomical to sit near the court at any NBA game. But if you are a basketball fan, like a true basketball fan, you're going to see some faces you recognize that dress with the Kings. You have two-way players, right? You're going to see some other familiar faces, media personalities. You get a chance to be much closer to the action than you do in Sacramento. You get the chance sometimes to mingle with some of those people. You get a chance to make your kid, if you go to the games with your son, daughter, your family member, whatever, you get a chance to make them feel like they are part of the game. You're closer. The game is good. The product is good. Stockton does a really good job with the production down there as well. What I'm saying is you can get a great Kings, I want to reinforce that, Kings experience in Stockton for not a high price. So I highly encourage you to go down and check out a Stockton Kings game this season. I will be down there throughout the season covering them and reporting back on the Kings court. So go check them out. Big fan of what that franchise is doing. And obviously they're under one roof with the Kings, but big fan of Gabriel Harris, big fan of everything that the front office has done in terms of scouting and player development, because player development is the missing key in today's NBA. With the new CBA, player development is everything. What can you draft right, and what can you do in those first 4 years of that rookie contract to develop your team because of the penalties? You can't have super teams anymore without big penalties. You know, we talk about the aprons where you can lose your mid-level exception, you can lose draft picks. So if you're going to go all in on a team and try to do what the Miami Heat did back in the day, what the Golden State Warriors did not too long ago, you better do it in 1 year because the penalties are severe with the CBA. In fact, the GM survey that came out this last season, the GM said the first thing that they would change about the NBA is the CBA. And it is in its first year of 7 in effect. So take that for what it's worth. Dennis chiming in on his thoughts with the Bosa situation. Let's see. I want to make sure that I don't put anything up that's going to start a bigger conversation, but if it makes sense, it doesn't make sense. I agree with you. I'm sure both would answer questions, but like said, maybe that time and platform, so he would not get fined. Well, okay. Don't wear the hat then, Dennis. You understand you can't open the door and then just slam it in people's faces. You can't open the door and say, look at me, and then slam it. If you open the door, you got to let people in. At least that is how the process works. And I'm not saying you've got to take questions about, your deep political thoughts and, what's your thought on this policy. You don't have to do that, but you can't wear that hat and then say, I'm not taking any political questions. Stop it. Especially if it's like, hey, are you a candidate A supporter? I mean, I get that's a stupid question if you're wearing the hat, but you know what I'm saying. Let's see. But Rhino, you bring them on the show, and I'm sure he'll talk to you about it. Yeah, they probably would. I get it. I get it, my man. Is Mason Jones still in Stockton? He is with the Kings right now. So when the Kings are in town, so for those that don't know, the Kings have 3 two-way players. Mason is one of them. When the Kings are playing at home, if Stockton also has a game, let's say, so tomorrow night, the Kings will know Stockton's 13th, the Kings are the 13th. So Mason will probably be with the Sacramento Kings, but on nights where Stockton has a game in Stockton, but the Kings are still in Sacramento, not playing that night, but in Sacramento, Mason will probably be down there playing. But Mason, Isaac were both with the team last night in San Antonio, but it's a quick turnaround. In fact, John Kessler Edwards, he was getting some run last year with the Stockton Kings, and the Kings had come off of I think it was a 4-game road trip, and they had flown overnight. And that next night, that same night, Kess was down in Stockton getting run, and I was talking to him before the game. I'm like, dude, like, how are you doing this? And so, anyways, it's a little bit of a grind for those guys. And with the two-way players, remember this as well. Number one, they are not eligible to play in the playoffs. And number two, there is a capped amount of games that they can dress in the NBA. So if you get to a situation like you had with Keon Ellis, if you want him on the roster, you got to promote him and elevate him to a full-time roster spot. So again, we are talking Kings back in action tomorrow night against Phoenix. Phoenix is going to be in Utah tonight. So they are on the first night of a back-to-back. What I'm paying attention to there is Bradley Beal. Is Bradley Beal going to play the back-to-back, number one? As of the last time I checked, he was not on the injury report. For those that don't remember, he had it looked like a hyperextension in the game against the Kings late in the second half. DeMar, fell back, and Beal's knee looked to kind of bend back, hyperextend, whatever you want to call it. Beal stayed in the game, but nothing on the injury report. He's playing tonight so far as we can tell, but is he going to be available tomorrow night against the Kings? And what's it going to look like today for the Kings? My guess is, and obviously it's going on right now, if not already ended, a lot of film, a lot of walkthroughs, but they are back at it again tomorrow night against Phoenix. It's going to be a tough test for them. They got to get it done. They absolutely do. Let's bring Dirk into the conversation. What's up, Dirk?
Hey, Ryan.
How you
Long
doing?
time no chat.
Yeah, good to hear from you.
Hey, so yeah, I saw that report about those excessive minutes. What's your take on why Alex Len doesn't see the floor consistently?
It has everything to do with matchups. I think that's the biggest thing. Alex, there's certain players you just can't put him on the floor with. Wemby's one of them. So you're going to see a mix of him and mix with Trey. Coach thought last night that they could speed up the Spurs, which is the right thing to do, because the Spurs were, I believe, the second slowest team in the league in terms of pace. But, I don't know what he does going forward. What do you think, Dirk? Do you think he should be getting more minutes now that Malik's out?
Well, I just think if he's your backup center, if the Kings are going to spread minutes, you need to play him consistently, even if it's not necessarily the quote-unquote ideal matchup for this team. Because, I mean, no one's going to be able to get going if we just leave you ice cold on the bench and then we put you out for some time. There's not going to be enough chemistry developed, I would think.
Dirk, really quick, the really hard thing now, especially for Alex Len and Sabonis, what really made their games go in their minutes was the pick and roll game with Malik. And now you don't really have that pick and roll game. Fox can do it a little bit, but not nearly the way that Malik does it. So I don't know how Alex contributes other than the scrappiness, getting to the boards, getting some putbacks and playing D.
Makes me question a bit the roster structure. They were quick to
Yeah.
just, I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with the other center we have that's injured. If he's ever going to play or produce anything meaningful for this team. So I would just like us to be consistent, to see what different lineups look like. I know Malik being out's not convenient, but I thought that was one of the reasons that they picked up Jordan McLaughlin.
Right.
In very limited minutes, he had 5 points, last night. It wasn't necessarily the most effective, time, but I think he could probably develop some chemistry with some guys. I think he will fill in adequately. That wasn't really the problem. The third quarter yesterday was a big issue up until the half. The Kings seemed to be in control of their offense. They were down 5, but it didn't seem like that game was out of the reach. It felt like this team always plays from behind, it would seem. Just that maybe that's not true, but that's what it feels from my perspective. Do you get that feeling? Does it feel like we're behind, needing to play back into these games?
Not really, to be honest with you. Not nearly as much as it did last year.
We should be. I think people have high expectations of this team, but the shooting percentages being as low as they are from 3, I'm starting to wonder if it's a product of a third ISO player like DeMar. He's not, I wouldn't say a black hole where the ball, gets to him at any point in the game and it's not coming back.
Yeah.
But I think the shooting problem, if we actively maybe, I try to look at some unique stats in regards to touches and assists, and the Kings are on, I think, in the lower middle area of passes, but generally low in assists. But I couldn't correlate the lack of ball movement, meaning guys aren't touching the ball consistently enough to be ready to shoot or feel in the flow of the game to shoot. Mm-hmm. What's your take on why the shooting is so poor?
It's could be a lot of things, Dirk. I don't have one solid take on what the problem is. I think flow is a big part of that. I think the lack of structure is a part of that as well. Guys like Kevin Huerter, if you notice when the game starts, almost every single game, the first play is for him. And sometimes coach will call that same play for Keegan Murray at times out of timeouts. I think those guys need a little bit more structure. Now, as for the assist, that's a little bit more of a tricky one. I've been trying to figure that out too. The thing that we also have to kind of put into that formula is the amount that the Kings are getting to the free throw line. That is a big, massive change from last year. And obviously you don't get an assist when you get to the free throw line. So that's also why I think the number's a little bit lower. But I think really the Kings have just missed, Dirk. The looks have not been bad, especially compared to last year. They are just missing wide open shots.
So Trey Lyles is really the only guy where we can justify it. I mean, you could say Keegan might be overworked, right? Because he's so critical to just being on the defensive side, the everything. Like he's getting boards now, still guarding the best offensive player on that team. Yeah. He's just so essential to everything that we do on that side of the ball. I don't know. It's an interesting predicament because the team suddenly solves for free throws, like in a big way. And
massive.
One thing I will counter your suggestion that maybe a lot more free throw shooting, because DeMar is typically the guy that's going to the line, and his ability to get to the line is somewhat it's all isolation. Like he'll get the ball early and hold it for a few seconds before he makes a move.
Yeah.
So I just think I want to see the ball flow a little bit more. De'Aaron is one person I think is getting a lot of positive praise for his on-ball defensive numbers, but I seem to notice, and I really got to analyze these more, but I feel like the decision-making on his part is leading to some open shots. I don't know.
You're spot on. You hit the nail on the head, and it's happening, Dirk, at critical times in the game. The Toronto game, he gambled on 2 plays, one against Grady Dick, and I forget who hit the 3 on the other play that were crucial. That was the game in Toronto. And then even the Phoenix game, he had another gamble that was late in the game that sent Phoenix to the free throw line. He is taking risks at the wrong time. You are spot freaking on there.
Yeah, and there was a corner 3 in yesterday's game where he was just in bad position as he tried to close out. Like Sabonis was on the corner man, and he just left somebody open for a wide open 3. And I'm like, that's not going to show up on his on-ball defensive statistics. And people are making the argument as though De'Aaron might be first team all defense. And I'm like, I don't think we're watching the same game, or if you're watching the game at all,
they're looking at one category and it's steals.
Well, he is. I would say on-ball defense is really, really good. It's just, where are these breakdowns happening, and are we taking accountability for those things? I was hoping maybe DeRozan could provide some sage leadership wisdom to, our big guys or our big names. Certainly Malik being injured is going to be a big factor, but I just think if we get some consistency in the ball movement, Mike Brown takes some onus of calling more plays, getting people to, design plays to get people in positions to shoot their high percentage shots. Almost if we took an analytical look at the game of, okay, where do these guys most effectively shoot the 3 ball? I mean, it should happen, but it's been enough games now that I don't think it's just going to magically start clicking at this point. I think we need to design for better opportunities. And I agree, they haven't been bad shots, but it doesn't make sense. Something else has to be contributing to it in some way.
Well, the other thing that I would say, Dirk, and you can give me your take on this as well, is something I took away from the Phoenix game was how well Phoenix spaces out. Their spacing is excellent to me. And that was without Durant on the court. And I think the Kings are still trying to figure that spacing out. And everybody's talking about, DeRozan and the ISO and everybody trying to figure things out with him. What about DeRozan trying to figure things out with everybody else? This is a much different offense than DeMar has really ever played in. And DeMar's kind of like a chameleon. So I would also add a little bit of a sprinkle of the spacing in there. The spacing has to get better because at times you have guys like in what's really obscure about it, Dirk, is it happened last night. You had 2 guys in the corner. Sabonis was at the elbow, or he was at the high post, basically, at the elbow, kind of free throw line extended. And you had 2 guys in the corner right next to each other, meaning you had 3 defenders right there on that side of the court. Herter ended up cutting back door and it worked out. He got a reverse layup. But that was like an example of sometimes how the spacing is poor. And even if that is the concept that, you're trying to draw up and it doesn't work. That's where you're just putting too many people in one spot when you go to those ISO situations. And we're seeing teams kind of shade a little bit more. We saw last night for the first time the all out double early on against DeMar, but the spacing has to get better, buddy.
Can it though? I mean, I would say, if you are using Sabonis most effectively, you need him at the high post, right? So you can't just shove Sabonis in the corner because you're giving up a huge advantage on misses, right? So you need prolific rebounding guards, I think, for it to work on this team, because you need guys who can go in and win those 50-50 balls. So especially when we're shooting so poorly, there's going to be a lot of rebounds in the mix, right? So if Sabonis is not in an ideal position to get those boards, I don't see that spacing being a possibility. Admittedly, I wasn't watching why Phoenix was spaced so well, where Nurk was, or Plumlee was playing in those plays. So to know, like, what are they running? Because it feels like if we had better cuts with Herter, and man, I would love to see Keegan be able to cut to the hoop and get that ball, because he's so effective down in the mid-range and the low post. And man, I don't know. I would love to see us evolve that way through set plays in some fashion, but I don't know, unless Sabonis moves out higher past the 3-point line where he's going to orchestrate things, or how else can we space with Sabonis not playing the high post? Like, where do you see Sabonis being in that play if he's not got the ball in his hands?
It's a good question. I would have to think about it a little further. The one thing that I would like to see in that situation, though, when you have him out top, that we saw in the past couple years when the Kings struggled offensively, they would mix in some high-low action between Sabonis and Barnes. And to your point about Keegan down low, we have not seen any high-low action yet this season between Keegan and Sabonis, or DeMar and Keegan. I think that would be a beautiful mix-up right now without Malik Monk on the floor, especially when you're playing different combinations.
I will say, you gotta love the clutch play. In close games, they're really seeing, you just feel like if this team can be close in any situation or have a lead, they're probably going to hold it. It's just getting to that point where they can, find consistency in the middle of the game, or just, is it really that simple that if they start hitting threes, they're going to win? Is that going to solve for everything,
No, it's not going to solve for everything, because there's other deficiencies that are happening, especially defensively. Now, I think the Kings are a much better defensive team than we expected them to be early on in the season, but transition right now, Dirk, it's got to get way better. The transition has not been there. You got outscored last night in fast break points by the San Antonio Spurs. What? And I get that it's on the second night of a back-to-back, but last year transition, especially the second half of the season, that's what fueled the Kings offense. It was a race to 100 points, and they were great in that area of the game. Also points off of turnovers. In the turnovers for the Kings, those have been horrendous. De'Aaron, and I know he's dealing with his finger, coming into last night, he was averaging over 4 turnovers a game. Domas had a really bad turnover game, I believe, in Phoenix. So
yeah,
there's still some bad IQ plays that are happening, and certainly those are not always going to be gone. You're going to have a few of those. These guys are human, but some of these guys are too good to be making some of the mistakes that they're making.
Yeah, it feels like we ride the negative emotions, and that just kind of leads to a snowball effect on bad decisions. I think like Sabonis' 6 turnover game in Phoenix, I think consistently making the same mistake, looking for the refs to make a call. Wemby yesterday for periods and stretches was just unguardable. I don't know how anybody defends him when he shoots that well and can just get what he wants. You feel like you muscle up on him or something to handle him. But if Sabonis can't do that on him, look out when they finally put it all together.
Yeah, no, I hear you, brother. I hear you, dude. Thanks for the call, Dirk. Make it better.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, dude. All right. That is Dirk. I love talking hoops with Dirk. Dirk knows his basketball for sure. Let's get back to the chat really quick. See some more questions in there. Yes, I do follow the Stockton Kings very closely. It's an important part of what this team does, or at least it's been a very important part of this Kings team the last 2-3 years, their run. It's so imperative. And for once, and I know Vivek's daughter was part of the GM team down there, they have been doing things very well. So yeah, if you need Stockton content, this is your place. You won't find a lot of it around here in Sacramento. Bane, yeah, I can also imagine going for too many pump fakes, trying to get blocks and getting burned, but the Kings are 26th in blocks, so no worries there. We could go down the list of where they stand statistically in some areas, and it would shock you. Would absolutely shock you. Jackson, can the Kings still win the division? Not the way that Golden State's playing. No, absolutely not. Phoenix, who knows? How long will a calf keep Kevin Durant out? What I do know is the Kings, and I believe I want to say this right. I've said it on the show before. The Kings and one other team in the division that is not Golden State, that is not Phoenix. I think it's the Kings and the Clippers. Everybody else besides the Kings and the Clippers in the division are in the top 5 of the hardest schedules in the NBA. So, does the schedule line up? Not really. I don't see it. Like, if you look at the Kings schedule right now, where is it going to get better? Grant and I thought the early part of this schedule was where the Kings were going to be able to get out and do something. In fact, why don't we put the schedule up really quick? Give me 2 seconds as I'm learning all these new features here on our studio. Here we go. Let's throw the schedule up for you, and we will have this conversation. Nope, not that one. We're getting there. We are getting there. There we go. Sacramento Kings schedule. All right, here we go. So here is the Kings schedule. So you've got Phoenix on Wednesday night, right? Then you've got Minnesota at home. You'd hope for a 1-1 there. 1-1. Would everybody here probably take 1-1? I would. Then you've got Utah at home. It's got to be a win. You've got Atlanta. So there's 2 games that you have to have. The point I'm trying to make here is we continue looking down this schedule. There is not really a stretch where it's like, okay, the Kings can get right here. Now, injuries continue to change everything throughout the NBA, especially in the Western Conference. But you go Portland, then San Antonio, Houston, who's playing really well, Memphis. How are they going to look? They still got other guys besides Ja Morant. Will he possibly be back? Then you see San Antonio again. Then you see the Lakers 3 times in the month of December. But look at the teams here. Detroit. You're going to say Detroit's got to be a win? Dallas, who's not playing great basketball right now, but you know they're going to come around. You saw what they did to the Kings at the end of the year last year. Here's my point. Show me where the stretch of basketball is left on the schedule where it's like, oh, the Kings could easily run off 6 in a row, 7 in a row because of the schedule. It's not there. And when you get to March, check out March. You're at home against New York, then you're at Golden State, at Phoenix, and this is your homestand. This is your longest homestand of the second half of the season. It is a murderer's row. It's Memphis, Cleveland, Chicago's one that you got to have. Milwaukee, got to have that now that they're not playing well, but who knows? Maybe they figure it out. Boston, Oklahoma City, and then Portland. And Boston and Oklahoma City is a back-to-back, y'all. It's a murderer's row. And then you end the season basically on an East Coast road trip again. You're at Charlotte, or you're at Washington, or no, excuse me. You're at Orlando, you're at Indiana, at Washington, at Charlotte, at Cleveland, at Detroit, and then you come home for Denver, the Clippers, and Phoenix to finish out the season. So if we're being real about it, the easiest stretch of the season has been in the books. Minnesota, LA, Portland, Utah, Atlanta, Toronto, Miami, Toronto, LA, Phoenix, and San Antonio. I don't know that there's an easier stretch of the season or the schedule left out there for the Kings. That might have been the easiest stretch the Kings will see this season. So can they win the division? They could. I just don't see it happening. Like right now, as we sit, the Kings to me are a play-in team. And that's what their record bears when you look at it with the rest of the Western Conference. It's incredible stuff, right? So even though 3 other teams in the division have tougher schedules than what we just looked like, I just don't see it. And it starts again with the Kings and the the Suns here on Wednesday, 24 hours from now, which leaves you plenty of time to get down to Bennett. 3 locations in all here in the Sacramento area, the greater Sacramento area, I should say. One on the screen, the West Side Grill, their newest in Rockland, located in the Blue Oaks Town Center. Now, if you're looking for a place for incredible weekend brunch that doesn't break the bank, Bennett's is the spot. You can get 2 entrees and a bottle of champagne. That's right, your own personal bottle of champagne for under $50. Also, on the weekends, they've got their prime rib special. Incredible stuff. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. Menu, prime cuts of seafood and steak. But if you're not in the mood for either of those, they've got some awesome different options when it comes to the sandwiches, the burgers, the salads. Great soup, by the way. And if you're one of those people that does not like to cook on the holidays, Bennett's is your place. Keep checking their website. Pretty soon, they will be releasing their holiday meals that you can pre-order in advance. And also, right now, you can put in your order to go at bennettsrestaurants.com. So do us a favor, go give them a try. Promise you will really enjoy it. Also, happy hour Monday through Friday, 2 to 6 o'clock. Their sips and tastes, their shareable plates. Go in, let them know that you heard about them here on If You Don't Like That. I promise you, you will not be disappointed with Brian, Margot, and the rest of the team at Bennett's. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com for more information. Big thanks to them for sponsoring today's show. We've got about 15 minutes left to go in this one. NFL action last night. Al, if you are out there, buddy, man, that was hard to watch last night. I thought you guys were going to get that one, and you guys just kept shooting yourselves in the foot talking about the Rams and the Dolphins. How about Tua putting his head down and making a tackle head first? He joked about it after the game, but it left a lot of people a little bit breathless for a minute, making sure he was okay. Glad he is okay. There's a really good interview that he did with Jeff Darlington. You guys should go check that out. I thought it was really interesting. I thought he was very transparent about his decision. And it's just that, his decision to continue playing football. But yes, the Rams fall last night to the Dolphins, which is good news for the NFC West if you are a Niners fan, as they continue to ramp up Christian McCaffrey. That win in Tampa was huge. Such a big win. This whole Debo situation, putting his hands on a teammate, it's nothing. To me, it is nothing. Kyle Shanahan addressed it briefly. It happens. It's football. You don't think that lineman would kick Debo's ass? Come on. I mean, maybe the lineman wouldn't be able to catch Debo, but get out of here. It's nothing. That's what teammates do, especially in a physical sport like football. It's just that now you have cameras everywhere to catch it. Everywhere, including the locker rooms. But yes, the Niners, had they not won that game, winning that game gave them a 66% chance to make the playoffs. And they're just one of those teams at this point that needs a ticket to the dance. The Niners can get in. I would not want to see them, because you know what they're capable of, even though we've not seen it one time, in my opinion, yet this season. Granted, they have been extremely hampered by the injury bug. And as for the rest of the NFL, how about the Chiefs? Jerry Reynolds Chiefs, man. They just find ways to win games. When everything seems stacked against them, they remain undefeated on a blocked punt, or a blocked field goal. Crazy stuff. Incredible stuff. And then the Sunday night game, the kicker that came back to Texas, the Lions come back all the way. They scored, they run off 23 in a row, I want to say. Or it was 16 in a row, and beat the Texans. Incredible stuff. So lots to talk about with the NFL, including our buddy Jerry Jones. We've got more audio. It is a Jerry Jones roulette day. And I still have not mixed in any of the questions. We'll save them. If you have any questions for me outside of the scope of basketball, you can put it in the chat. I'm willing to answer them within reason, no politics. I promise I will get to that. I've teased it on the podcast because I have gotten a ton of questions via email and direct message. But if you have any, put them in. I will do my best to answer them. But here is our buddy Jerry Jones again today. Let's see. Should we go with the 11-second, the 33-second? Let's go with an extended clip, the 39 seconds from Jerry Jones. It's Jerry Jones Roulette Day.
Plan for this each and every week?
Well, we do. We basically do. We get a big time reports where that sun is going to be.
Oh, we got to listen to one before that. So everybody, if you didn't see it, there was the controversy about CeeDee Lamb, who dropped a ball. He clearly was saying he lost the ball in the sun, right? So questions have been floating around Dallas about, can you do something about the sun within the game? And Jerry Jones had a couple of responses to that. And he was pretty stirred. Again, here's Jerry. And this is the world that Jerry lives in. I believe this is the first one where he starts addressing the issue.
Mike does not feel.
No, that's the one where he says Micah does not feel because he tells his players how to feel.
Well, I would say that this falls in that category we were just talking about. There's a lot to talk about. I don't believe anybody living believes that that game, what we need to work on. And that's what I meant being incredulous when somebody asked me about that. Of all of the things that we all need to improve, that is way down the list.
So of all the things they need to improve on, blocking out the sun is way down on the list. Where do you come out on that? I can't say that I completely disagree, but here's where Jerry starts to come off the rails.
Plan for this each and every week?
Well,
the question is, do you game plan for the sun each and every week that you play at home?
We do. We basically do. We get a big time reports where that sun is going to be during the course of a game. Kellen Moore knew about it. He spent, I'm sure he spent a lot of time, their coordinator who used to be here, I'm sure he spent a lot of time planning and thinking about where the sun was going to be. You should. And I've seen balls caught with the receiver looking back into the sun out there. I've seen balls dropped. I saw Jason Witten drop a ball. But I've sure seen a lot of opposing teams drop some balls too. And so
game planning for the sun, that should be your focus. Let's focus our offense around game planning for the sun in our building. And Jerry talks about different advantages throughout this rant. He talks about old Cowboys Stadium, how there was an area of the field that was lower than the rest of the field. So the Cowboys took advantage of it. That's true in sports. So I'm going to give Jerry that. It's completely true. Every arena has something. There's going to be a dead spot on the floor somewhere. That's part of home court or home field advantage. But Jerry, this is different. This affects both teams equally, and I guess those things do too, but you know where they're at. Both teams are dealing with the sun. You would think that any detriment to your team that goes against winning a game, this guy would try to fix. He's Jerry freaking Jones, after all. But it's more important to keep the elements coming in, and it's more important to make the other team deal with the sun, and we can just game plan for dealing with the sun. We'll plan our passing game around the 4 to 5 p.m. hour. Between 4 and 5 o'clock, we cannot throw any balls at a 45-degree angle. for 30 yards at more than a 36-foot elevation. What are we doing? So Jerry continues.
That are very familiar with how to repair that, and his prognosis is wonderful. It just means that we're not going to have him the rest of the year.
Oh, he's talking about Dak there. Excuse me. There is one here that I've got to find where Jerry makes no sense. It's this one. It was the Micah one. What is Jerry trying to say here? Can you guys help me out?
Mike does not feel, and Micah does not feel a lack of appreciation for, of all people, our head coach, Mike.
Micah does not feel a lack. Okay, that's not the one. There's one where he's talking about
in there. And
Yeah,
it's really informing to know that they have sensitivity about guys that are at the end of their careers.
Okay. Let me set this up for you really quick. This is around the Micah Parsons situation, where he said that he's more concerned about playing for a teammate that is at the end of his career or near the end of his career, does not have a lot of time left in the league to ride out a rebuild. Okay? Did Jerry Jones just say it's really informing to know that these guys feel? Like, what does he think these players who play for him are? Like, does he think they're little toy soldiers? Like, does he not realize that they're human freaking beings? Like, this is the alternate reality. And the reason I put all these different clips together was to try to illustrate this to you. Like, he thinks players are chess pieces. It's really informing. Let's run that back. To know that these guys feel
in there. And it's really informing to know that they have sensitivity about guys that are at the end of their careers.
It's really informing to know that my players have IQ and feelings. Jerry, let me do you a favor too, Jerry. I'm going to blow your mind, Jerry. You ready? You ready, Jerry? Your players have senses, Jerry. Did you know that? Did you know your players have eyes? They have the sense of sight. They can see things, Jerry. Did you know that they can hear, Jerry? They can hear things too. Jerry, they also have taste buds. You know that big kitchen you built in your facility? Whatever you're slinging them every day to eat? They can taste the differences between those products, my man. Did you know that? Did you know that they can touch things? They can tell the difference between a dry and a wet football, Jerry? Dude, I know that's a lot of stuff for you to take on right now, Jerry. But in addition to them being able to feel, Jerry, they have senses.
In there. And it's really informing to know that they have sensitivity about guys that are at the end of their careers. And, of course, Zach Martin has been an influence on that team out there to a large degree. And he would, and a young player like Micah, Zach Martin would have stature of coaching caliber.
What? What was that, Jerry? Zach Martin would have what?
Zach Martin would have statue of coaching caliber.
Statue of coaching. Excuse me. I can't. Jerry, you got me confused now. One more time, Jerry. What was that? Statue of Liberty?
Zach Martin would have statue of coaching caliber.
Zach Martin would have statue of coaching. Look, Jerry, I can't even talk right now. What did you say? Statue of
Player like Micah, Zach Martin would have statue of coaching caliber.
coaching caliber. You know, I used to work a lot around the law before I started doing this. There's statute of limitations, statue of coaching. Jerry, I'm so confused. One more time. Help me out, dude.
Then a young player like Micah, Zach Martin would have statue of coaching caliber.
Statue of coaching caliber. Huh. Jerry Jones, everybody. The gift that keeps giving. Incredible. Incredible that this guy could care so much about a football team, but care so little with his actions about his team. Did I just hear Jerry Jones say that they game plan for the Sun? Or at least they should be game planning for the Sun. If we're breaking it down to a level where you are game planning for what you feel are advantages in your stadium, and you intentionally built your building to feel like you were outdoors, which he says in this interview, if you are going to those extents to gain a competitive advantage, you sure as hell would have thought you would have improved your roster in the offseason. You sure as hell would have thought you would have, I don't know, signed a running back. Incredible. That is Jerry Jones. This is Tuesdays now. It is still a Jerry Tuesday. It's just a Jerry Jones Tuesday now. I just, it's beyond me. What are your guys' thoughts on Jerry? He can't help himself. He just can't help himself. John Finch, Cowboys fan. I mean, it's got to be such a double-edged sword supporting that team because you're supporting him.
That don't make no sense.
It doesn't make any sense. Peter, Jerry must be drinking. That interview happens at like 9 a.m, Dallas time. 9 a.m. Patrick, appreciate you sneaking in a break, buddy. And the first face you see is Jerry. My bad, dude. My bad, Peter. Jerry. Yes, Jerry Jones. Let's see. Bain, Chiefs, worst 9-0 team in history. Well, you might as well throw in the worst 9-0 team who's won 2 Super Bowls in a row in history, right? Like, Bain, I get it. I get what you're saying, but at what point do you attribute it to the greatness of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes? I don't know if anybody noticed it. I can't look at Jerry anymore. Jerry's upset with me. I don't know if anybody noticed it, but when they went into overtime against Tampa Bay, there was like a different level of focus that came over that team. It was a different level of concentration. They're just different. Andy Reid gets it. You want to talk about the exact opposite of Jerry Jones? Andy Reid gets it. How do you get that buy-in from your players? That is incredible. And how do you continue to produce these players? It's like they print them up. Like in Jerry's world where these guys are toy figures, Kansas City is like printing up players when guys go down, and now they're only going to get healthier. It's incredible what Kansas City is doing, but I get what you're saying. I understand it, Bane. It was a good call by Dirk. Good job. All right, we're going to get out. Don't forget, Grant is going to be back tonight, 8 o'clock, open forum. I don't know if I'm going to be joining him or not. That is still TBD. But that doesn't matter because it is the man himself, the principal of this channel, Mr. If You Don't Like That, Grant Napier, right back here at 8 o'clock tonight, open forum, taking your calls and questions, also talking everything that happened this past weekend. I'm sure you'll probably get a little rant in there as well. Make sure you join Grant back here tonight at 8 o'clock Pacific. It will be a fun show. I can promise you that. We've got a full day of programming tomorrow. It's a game day, meaning we have pregame, postgame, halftime. But even before all of those, we've got Sean Salisbury tomorrow, 3 o'clock, talking NFL football with Napes. And then 4 o'clock, Jerry Reynolds, the man, will be here with us talking Kings basketball. And then off to the races, pregame, 6:15, halftime. It's halftime. And then postgame, immediately following the game, taking your calls. Fun day. Appreciate all of you. Thank you for being here as always. Thanks for fluctuating and dealing with us with the schedule in season. It's a little bit crazy between shows and the Kings and covering them. So appreciate all of you for making the time and moving things around to be part of this show. Do me a favor, make sure that you are following me on the X because that is where all the links are to the Kings Court on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, you will find the Kings Court with Rhino. It is not just the audio from this show. You get exclusive audio on the Kings. You get morning shows that get posted. There haven't been as many the last week because things have been busy, but you will be getting those more consistently. So make sure you are following the Kings Court with Rhino. Really appreciate all of you again, and make it a great rest of your Tuesday. Hope that it continues to go well. Again, Napes will be here at 8 o'clock tonight. Do an open forum with all of you. Hang in there, Kings fans. This team is good enough. They are good enough to make the playoffs. There's no question about it. They've just got to figure some things out. What's weird about this season is it's been 11 games and it feels like the All-Star break should already be coming up. It's all right. It means you have a good team. They'll figure it out. Monty McNair, damn good GM. They'll get it figured out. The question is, can they triage it until Malik Monk can get back? We find out tomorrow, Kings and Phoenix. But first tonight, Grant at 8 o'clock. Be there. Go Kings. Light the damn beam. Stay the hell away from Levine. Court is dismissed on this beautiful Tuesday.